Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Equity.Guru Investor Roundtable. I'm Rob. That's Galen waving to you from the basement. He's kind of in a haze. Something's going on back there. Upstairs is Vishal, and in the far corner, the guru himself, Chris Perry. And today we are talking about biotech things. And we've got a really nifty little cross section, couple of Yanks, if you will, here. Kezar Life Sciences out of Waltham, Massachusetts, under Jonathan Violin is the CEO, who oddly enough in his spare time plays the drums. Jean-Jacques Bien-Aimé is the CEO of BioMarin in San Rafael, California. They're on the NASDAQ, as is Kezar. And then a client of the guru is Medexus Pharmaceuticals out of Bolton, Ontario. By the way, the palindrome of Bolton is not Lob. Ken D'Etremont is the CEO, and it is N-D as in dog, P as in, what's the P one? P, anyway, DP, MDP on the Toronto Exchange. Chris, you go first. And start with our friends at Medexus that are also traded in the US over the counter, but they're NDP on the Toronto Exchange.
All right, so the TLDR on MDP, if we like letters as words, is their company that specializes in acquiring the license for biotech products that they believe are inefficient. That is, they've already gone through the FDA approval process. They're out there on the market, they're selling, but that they can reformat, reformulate, put a new delivery system, make them better, send them back to the FDA for just a quick look, and then get approved for a much wider use. That's the 30,000 foot view. We're going to go into the individual medications that they sell, but let's not. So the big story on MDP over the last year was they were going through this FDA process. FDA sent an application back and said, need more information. Now, generally speaking, on most FDA trials, this means shit. We've hit a wall, and we may need to go back and do retrials, which is expensive and not necessarily any guarantee of success. That's not what happened here. What happened here was the FDA is like, hey, thanks for all your work. We have some questions. Can you answer the questions? Medexus has submitted the answers to those questions, and the process continues. They haven't had to go back and retrial things. And in fact, recently, Medexus was expected to ask a few more questions. FDA was expected to ask a few more questions, of which Medexus already has the information at hand from existing trials. They have the data. So their process is a lot less this and a lot more this, right? So what they've been waiting for basically is for the FDA to get through its rehashing of this and say, we're good, you're good, go forward, make money. In the meantime, though, they're making some money out of other things. Slight loss, I believe, over in their financials, 2.9 million in the last year, which is pretty small loss considering what they've got. And there's some revenue in there that, you know, quite frankly, it's no small beans what they're actually doing out without even worrying about the FDA trial, right? Currently, their revenue is 76 million in 2022. So a $2 million loss over 76 million in revenue is pretty freaking good, especially when you consider that they've got more things to come. So right now, Medexus is blown out, burned out, share chart wise, because people have lost faith. Yeah. People who know have been quietly buying more and holding on because they can see that there's going to be a morning where they wake up, see a news release has been put out, and the damn thing has gone through the roof, speculatively speaking. I am of that same belief. I'm looking at their last year of news, looking at their raft of SKUs. I think this is a really undervalued company at a really interesting time in its existence. Full disclosure, they are a Equity.Guru marketing client and have been in the past. So, you know, we have a conflict there. That said, anyone who's been watching what we do for a while knows that we don't really give a shit about conflicts. And that if a company is screwing the dog, client or otherwise, that will say so. I actually think that the company is right, that this is a really interesting time to start amassing in expectation that they're going to open the gates fairly soon.
We will be talking about them again in the next few days,
Go into detail.
even more extensively. Yeah. And we'll pass over to Galen as we get into Kezar Life Sciences, KZR or KZR on the NASDAQ, and BioMarin BMRN on also on the NASDAQ.
The buzzwords today within the biotech community is precision medicine. And there's a good reason for that, because rather than just throwing something up in a dark room and shooting a shotgun at it, these guys are actually attempting to find the core issues and directly strike those. Kezar Pharmaceuticals is working on protein manipulation, which is very important in cell growth and development and the body processes, and metabolism, and all that kind of stuff. So they're dealing with inhibiting such interactions on a very specific level to treat very specific diseases. It's an interesting science. Precision medicine is where we're hopefully going to be heading in sort of general terms. However, this as being biotech, as Chris mentioned before, with Medexus, they've already got things that have gone through the FDA process, have gone through the clinical trials. They're tweaking them a little bit, putting them back through the trials and putting them into newer markets in a new way or a new delivery methodology. But these companies are starting from scratch, basically. So they're having to take their stuff all the way through the 3 sets of clinical trials for FDA approval at the very end. And anywhere along that way, someone can crap the bed and the whole thing's done. So there's a lot of risk involved with these companies, and it's hugely capital intensive. There's a lot of money spent in research and development. Kezar is an example of this, not like something that's, you know, an eyesore, but an example of this process. It in and of itself has only got cash and assets and has managed to generate, I think, $15 million loss for the last quarter. It does have a pipeline of products it's trying to push through, and I believe that it is in phase 2 for one of its product drug candidates, and we'll be heading to phase 3 hopefully at some point soon. That's closer to getting it to market, but the commercialization is still far away. If you believe in the company, you believe in the tech, you believe in the people that are running the science, these are the companies that you're going to get your 10-bagger return on. But again, huge risk. The next company, BioMarin, is another sort of interesting concept. It in of itself, however, is a large ticket item. It's a developed pharmaceutical company. This is an $82, I believe, in that range, per share company. It's already got stuff on the shelf. It's full go. So you're not necessarily going to get a lot of growth out of this. If, however, you do believe in the company, you believe in what they're doing, this is something that you can sort of hang on to as a 10-year term. This is my retirement stock. This is going to continue to put money into the bank for me. Medexus has sort of a best of both worlds scenario. It's a smaller cap company that has a good business plan and loses a lot of the risk because it jumps in after the clinical trials for the most part and takes things to market that have already been proven to be effective in other ways. Personally, I'm probably more interested in Medexus than the other two, basically because it's such a hit and miss. I love new science, but a lot of it goes by the wayside before it ever comes to fruition.
I like it. You're on the clock, Vishal, because you are going to have to combine your general thoughts with your charts.
Yep. Well, I'll stick with the charts. You know, Galen, you mentioned about biotech and how there's risk, right? We all know there's risk. Some of these biotechs move like crazy, and Kezar Life Sciences, on the day we're recording, had a crazy day where it closed up 43% for the day, 48.5 million shares traded. I think it was like, you know, it was up higher than 43% at the time, and it's news on the trials of this. I can't even pronounce that. Zetomib, a treatment of patients with lupus nephritis, which is a kidney disease. So that trial came out today. The stock popped. It closed yesterday at $5.78, and it opened this morning at $11.02. So big gainer, big pop, and you can see people obviously taking profits, but the stock still closed up 43% for the day. Just as a technical trader, I really like this pattern. Obviously, I'm not someone that would jump in it right now, but this is something that is, I think, going to get a lot of day traders, like, looking at this next morning. When you have big gaps like this, usually those gaps are filled. It can be support as well, but usually I think with this breakout at $6, that is technically your support level that you can work with now. And I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if day traders are going to be trading this because there's a lot of volume, has some news. It's a stock that's under $10 as well right now on the US exchange. And I think longer term, this could be something that makes a big run back above $12, depending on how this momentum is sustained. And I think just with this price action, we are witnessing a lot of people taking profits. That's a pretty hefty gain, if you're holding shares that were under $6 and obviously seeing it climb above $11. Quickly on BioMarin, very big company, as Galen mentioned, bringing in earnings, but the stock really, since 2020, hasn't really done much. It's just been ranging between $71 here to the bottom side and to the upside, $92. So that's the range that you're in. I did draw out this trend line, this downtrend line, which has connected 3 touches at least. And I think 3 is my key number because that's the trend line. That's basically confirmed that the markets are respecting this trend line. So when you get a breakout above it, it's usually a big deal. And we did get a breakout actually on June 23rd. And so far there has been some momentum taking the stop up to $87. But yeah, as Galen said, this is more of like a long-term play, not necessarily something you want to really day trade or trade, especially with a stock at $83, right? Unless you have the cash, I guess. And then Medexus, it's all coming back to me because I remember this breakdown that we saw. I believe it was that treosulfan, that was the drug, the trials there, and we did break below this $7 zone. Big gap down. We're finding some support here at $2.50, but I think it was just more of that FDA news and that resubmission. And we're at $1.98, and even to me, this looks very, very cheap from what I remember about this company and what they deal with and the products that they sell. Their revenue as well, that Chris mentioned, it was their strongest revenue in company history as well. So it's telling you something that things are turning around there. And I think the stock is just quite cheap at this price here at $1.98. Record all-time lows comes in at around $1.50. I'm not saying we're going to go there because it looks like we are finding some range here. And I think if we can get a breakout here above $2.20, that would get us over this resistance and get us over the moving average. And I think that starts a new uptrend here in Medexus Pharmaceuticals.
Very nice. And I'm handing out 7,500 bones apiece. And Chris, you and Sparky the dog get to go first. It looks like he might have had some advice for you, or is it her?
Yeah, Dog says all in on Medexus.
Wow. That's it?
That's it.
7,500 bones from the pooch. What's the pooch's name?
I think Kezar has already had its big pop, going from $6 to like $11 in a day, although it's slung back to $8.25. I think BioMarin's also had a good run in the last couple of weeks. But to me, there's still value to be had there in our boys at Medexus. And I think that there's going to be some information that comes out in the foreseeable future that makes that thing do a nice big backflip.
What's Pooch's name?
Jasper, same as my son.
Jasper. So we
Not
might
my
have
dog.
we have to work in the Jasper's stock tips segment.
Jasper the dog.
7,500 Medexus. Galen?
I'm going to follow Chris. I'll have to say though that I didn't get my stock tip from a dog. I feel too much like Son of Sam to say that. So
Haven't lived.
7,500 down on Medexus. The other 2 companies are interesting, but one is well out of my sort of price range in terms of investment, and the other is too risky. And not that Medexus doesn't show risk, it does, but I think there's a lot more to be had in this one from a long-term perspective. So that's me, 75 on Medexus.
All right, Mr. Vishal, will you make it the triple?
Get the bell ready. Yeah, let's go 7,500 in Medexus. There it was. Yeah, get it in Medexus. Just exactly what Galen said. BMRN, BioMarin is a bit out of my range, and Kezar, I think there's going to be a lot of volatility with this type of news. Let that settle down and maybe consider it in the future. But right now, Medexus, I do like the technicals here. It does look really cheap from what I've been looking at here and what we've been talking about. And I think, yeah, Chris is right. I think there's going to be some resolvement with the FDA there, and the stock will take off and reclaim levels that we've seen above $5. Much higher.
Woo! Very nice. All in. That's the bell. 7,500 each. Pump, pump, pumpy, pumpy, and including Jasper the dog. We cannot guarantee our advice. We can't guarantee our information. We need to have you do your own homework and research before you do your investing. So please do. And also, past performance does not guarantee future results. For Chris in the far corner, for Jasper at his feet, for Galen in the basement, who's going to be making some brownies right after this, and for Vishal upstairs in the gold mine, I'm Rob, and we'll see you on the very next. Oh, by the way, more Medexus in a few days, a little more in depth on that company. We'll see you on the very next Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.